Hello, my name is Ozelle Oshiro and I'm presenting my project for my Capstone 3 class at ASU. Today I want to talk with you about increasing high school graduation rates for Latino students. This is a subject that's very real to me because I'm the administrative assistant for a continuation high school in Gilroy, California. Every year in June, I have to code the students who did not graduate as dropouts. I've been doing this job for 6 years, and every year I see the same thing. In those 6 years, nearly all of those dropouts are Latino. At our school, we do everything to address the students' needs: free meals, free bus passes, mental health services, and drug and alcohol treatment. Despite our efforts, there's always a few students who don't make it. I began to think about what it is that can motivate this population of students to dig in and face their obstacles in order to earn a high school diploma. According to the California Department of Education Data Reporting Office, in the 2015-16 school year, Gilroy Unified School District had 35 high school dropouts, which is a relatively low number except when you note that 100% of the non-grad students were Latino. We must ask ourselves, why the disparity, and what can be done to improve this? In this bar graph, you can see that of all 918 seniors from the class of 2016, 100% of the cohort dropouts were Latino. The problem is the disparity of the dropout rates between races. According to Stannard, high school graduation rates are significantly lower for Latino students than for white students in the United States. Chapman found that historically the rates of high school dropouts have gone down at a steady rate over the last 40 years in the United States. However, among those students that do drop out, the rates for Hispanic Latinos is nearly double that of white students according to Green's study in 2001. The scope of the problem is so widespread that it's difficult to quantify. According to Rumberger, when people drop out of high school, the individual is affected by chronic joblessness, poor health, and they may become parents at a younger age than those who earn a high school diploma. The entire community is affected by increased spending on social services like welfare and loss of income tax from that individual's inability to find steady employment. According to Bridgeland, research has also shown that a majority of the national prison population are high school dropouts. According to Thornberry, in the short term, the consequences of dropping out of high school is unemployability, but the long-term effects can result in poverty, homelessness, and criminal behavior. According to Borden, some key causes of dropping out of high school are socioeconomic status, family obligations, teen pregnancy, self-esteem, and declining bilingual education programs. Other causes are that the parents may be migrant farm workers and their children must change schools throughout the school year. One thing I have seen firsthand in the high school where I work is that oftentimes older siblings have to miss school to care for younger siblings when their parents have no other daycare options. They are caught in a tough choice. Either the older sibling misses school or the parent misses work and a day's pay. I've seen these students fall so far behind that they become discouraged and stop coming to school altogether. When I interviewed Deborah Padilla, Curriculum Director for Gilroy Unified School District last July, she said that currently GUSD uses alternative education programs to help students who are severely credit deficient. The students are identified by their academic coordinator and then transferred from the comprehensive high school to one of 3 alternative education programs where they can earn a continuation high school diploma. The problem with the district's current approach is that it is a reactionary step taken only after a student has already failed several classes and has become so credit deficient that they have no hope of graduating with a comprehensive high school diploma. This eliminates any chance of being accepted to a four-year university immediately after high school. I'm sure there are many recommendations of how to solve this problem, but one solution I will focus on today is to implement a Mexican American Studies course for freshmen as a social studies elective course, where students would learn about their own culture and history and how to think critically about current issues facing their communities. According to Escamilla, the curriculum for social studies needs to be changed to realign with its original purpose, which was to document the changing demographics in the United States and the contributions of all races, including Mexican Americans. This curriculum is especially important in areas where the student population is predominantly Mexican American. According to Salinas, by focusing on critical thinking, caring relationships between student and teachers, and aspects of U.S. history that reflect the Mexican American perspective, this curriculum can foster student engagement and increase student success. Students learn about their history and cultural contributions by exploring their own history and the culture from an interdisciplinary perspective. Students learn through relevant film, literature, art, theater, and music. According to Holly, Mexican American Studies programs have been successfully implemented in many districts, including the Tucson Unified School District in Arizona, before it was controversially banned in 2010. During its use, the program raised standardized test scores, grades, graduation rates, and college admission for the students who participated. According to Salinas, in Tucson, the curriculum used an approach called CCI, or Critically Compassionate Intellectualism, to form an academic identity which is rooted in the student's Latino heritage. When I read this, it really struck a chord for me because I'm proud to say that finding my academic identity in a Mexican American history course is what brought me to where I am today, the Sociology Master's Program at Arizona State University. I want to tell you how I found my own academic identity. I was 23 years old and I had just enrolled in my local community college at the suggestion of my supervisor at work. My counselor gave me a list of social science courses to choose from, and I chose the Mexican American History course because I didn't even know it existed before then, and it sounded intriguing. The closest thing I studied was in 4th grade when we all learned how the Spanish monks founded the California missions. Once I got started in the class, I was on the edge of my seat, eager to learn all of the pieces of history that were left out of my 11th grade U.S. history class. I had no idea that Mexican Americans had contributed so much to our country's labor force and agricultural production. But most importantly, it finally sunk in that the southwestern United States used to belong to Mexico. After all the times I had heard other kids say, "Go back to Mexico, you beaner," I realized that they were completely ignorant. I just didn't have the knowledge to reply, "Hey, we were here first." After taking that Mexican American history course, I felt like I had just as much right to be here as anyone else. I no longer had to hide the fact that I'm Mexican American in order to be considered a real American. During that semester, I gobbled up all the information as fast as I could and signed up for more classes like Mexican American culture and Mexican American literature. The literature class had awoken a love of reading that I never knew I had. I wondered, why had we never read anything by Sandra Cisneros when I was in elementary, middle, or high school? Her stories reflected those of my family and how I grew up. I started to see examples of successful Latino judges, writers, and artists throughout the coursework, and I suddenly had the urge to be among them, to be educated. I not only had an academic identity, but I also had a proud cultural identity for the first time in my life. I began to visit museums, art exhibits, concerts, and plays. My eyes had been opened, and I wanted to help open the eyes of those around me. So I volunteered to be a staff advisor for the Latino Student Union at the high school where I was working. I took them on field trips, organized cultural dance performances, and took them to a march for immigrants' rights. I became an educational resource for my younger sisters, cousins, and for my own daughter, encouraging all of them to pursue higher education, and I showed them the steps to get there. Before taking that course, I thought college degrees were for other people, smart people. Since no one in my family had graduated from college, I had no role models. My parents, grandparents, and aunts and uncles all just went to work after high school, so that was normal for me. Getting good grades in those first few courses also gave me the confidence to continue my education, sign up for more challenging courses each semester. Because of my own positive experience with Latino Studies courses, I truly believe it can change the lives of students who don't see themselves reflected in their education and are currently uninterested and disengaged. Educating just one person can have a ripple effect in their community and begin to spread the idea that there is value in education, one person at a time. Now let's get to the nuts and bolts of how to get started. Program implementation would be fairly simple. The district director of curriculum, associate principal, and the social studies department faculty at the comprehensive high schools would have to recommend this new curriculum to the school board and have it approved for the following school year. The resources that would be needed would be for the purchase of curriculum and new textbooks. Funding would be site-based and come from the yearly textbook allocation for each school. Since there is already a Mexican American literature course being taught at the high school, presumably the same teacher would be interested in teaching the Mexican American history course. This course would be a social studies elective. No new teachers would need to be hired, just a redistribution of the current teaching staff within the master schedule. Minimal additional costs would be incurred if the teacher needed to travel within driving distance for peer coaching while training for the new curriculum. According to Sleeter, only a few districts in California offer ethnic studies courses, but eventually all districts in the state may be required to offer it, as it is a growing trend in the Southwest region. This proposal aims to engage students before they are failing several classes and must be transferred out of the comprehensive high school and into an alternative education program. According to Escamilla, this can be accomplished through an ethnic studies program that will build self-esteem, establish an academic identity, and increase student engagement. I'll leave you with a quote from American civil rights activist Cesar Chavez. Preservation of one's own culture does not require contempt or disrespect for other cultures. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Please enjoy a song that inspired Chavez's movement of equity for farm workers' rights. The song is called De Colores, and it's a great example of how a Mexican American Studies course might teach a lesson about strength in diversity. By using culturally relevant teaching methods, we are able to capture our students' hearts and minds.